Okay then. Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Sunday, October 5th, a little after 11 a.m. And I want to backtrack a little bit before I ask if we have any questions before we go to anything new. Uh, on yesterday, Pastor mentioned a dream that he had, and I didn't, and I know Barb spoke on it. And I was wondering if she had any more insight into it, and if anybody else does, because I don't think anybody else spoke about it, the dream specifically. Uh, Pastor, I think, said he didn't have any insight on the weapons. Has anybody thought about that? And or the numbers? Because I think he talked about some numbers, and let's start there because Barb also said something. She talked about the moon phases for the next couple of months, and I wondered about those dates as well. But anybody have anything about yesterday? Did you see anything since we've had some time to think about it?
Grand Rising. This is Barbara. I think Pastor pulled it together himself.
Okay.
After hearing comments, um, as it relates to the pulpit and how that represents Christianity, and there's no,
Oh,
you cannot go back to something that is an illusion. Now that you know that it was an illusion and it is an illusion, and he talked about the guns on the ground. I haven't thought much about that except he did talk about the weapons of our warfare are not um, uh, carnal, are not physical, and with guns lying all on the ground with no one using them, it implies to me that you got this illusion of these weapons where they are of no good.
yeah.
They aren't going to do any good ultimately. Um, so I believe that when he pulled it all together and summarized it, to me it tied his
Kind of tied it. Okay. Okay. That's what to make
vision
sure.
up.
Okay. Okay. Uh, did anybody think more about Barb's? What did you say, Bob? It was the moon phases were passed. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Before you get to those, the phases of the moon, um, the energy that I was experiencing yesterday when I was shown what those dreams represented or the experiences of those dreams. I, excuse me, I didn't say it yesterday, but I feel I need to say it now, and that is, especially when I spoke in regards to the black church or the African church and the Christian church being the lifeline to white supremacy because it keeps giving life to this Christianity that enslaves people. The energy that I was experiencing at that time um, was energy from Miss Florence, Barbara Now's mom, and I think and I wanted to share that with you guys, but more specifically with Barbara and Audrey in particular, because that was the energy that I was experiencing. It was like I could not only experience that energy through emotional feelings, but I could see her face when those statements were made. But at the moment, I did not sense any reason to mention it. However, subsequently, after revisiting some of the things that we encountered or that we saw, I felt a strong urge that it would be necessary for me to make note of that. And the reason I do believe that it is necessary to make note of that is to is because this is also a teachable moment, and that meaning that um, our ancestors, their energy sometimes identifies itself when we are pulling from it or when we are being guided by it. And the particular thing that I saw in regards to our Miss Florence was not just one thing in particular. As I said, it was like I saw her face, but it was in different places. It was it was in the building where Foundation once was when she walked in when we were doing a session one night. It was um, the flashes were there at the home when she turned from the stove when she was cooking things like that. I experienced those feelings all at one time, I'm sharing it as I said before because it is indeed a teachable moment. And so if you are experiencing the presence of the energy of particular ancestors, then it, it is nothing to be frightened about, and it is not you conjuring up something. It is the energy identifying itself. Now, why did it have to identify itself to me? I don't know, but I do know this: that the moment that I met Miss Florence and Deacon Adams, I became a part of that family, and I cannot explain what I mean by that. So, what I'm saying in essence is we are in a phase of our understandings now where things are going um, to become more and more, and I don't like this word, but I can't think of another, more and more real to us. This is where the rubber meets the road, and these visions are going to become more and more prevalent and the energy of slash faces of those who are guiding us from time to time are going to identify that source and in identifying that source we are going to have apparitions of those who have transitioned out of these bodies into that space where they came from in the beginning. So I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised that it happened. However, because it happened the way it did, I did not. I did not mention it because I did not feel at that moment. Matter of fact, I didn't give much thought to it. I just experienced it as I was speaking. So I wanted to make note of that. So and it also tells me that reiterates rather what we said before that ancestry does not deal with biological kin necessarily. Ancestry deals with those who have gone before us. And ancestry does not only deal with those who were very active in the church, in Christianity, in desiring to know God. It also, ancestry also speaks to those who left this earth under different circumstances, meaning that if it was someone who who was mean and hateful and transitioned, they still have opportunity to guide us because they see things differently and more clearly than they've seen it in the past. And I've been shown last night. I saw more clearly that this particular person will not be at rest until the congregation that he manipulated um, and the leadership that he left in those places has to be gone, has to be removed before that he will be at rest because he's experiencing or his energy, he's experiencing the agony that he put people through, and it's in a regrettable way that he's experiencing it, and now um, it may sound crazy, but this person is making every effort to remove that energy from the place that he implanted it, and it is his offspring that's carrying that energy, and it's his offspring that he's making every effort to guide the people to remove from that space, and in doing so, this is going to be a major movement in that it would it would be a signal or it be symbolic of the demise of Christianity itself, especially in the area where he where he actually what we call ministered. So I wanted to share that with you as well. Our ancestors are working more and more in the open now than we have experienced in the past. There is on the cusp of everything that's happening. There is a serious cataclysmic event that's on the horizon, and everything within me tells me that this cataclysmic event uh, is an event that involves law enforcement slash military, and there are going to be death at their hands, and all of it's going to be swept under the rug. And those who carry out those events, nothing will happen to them because the immunity, the absolute immunity that the Supreme Court gave to the presidency, meaning that they said that he has absolute immunity, which means that he can order anyone to do anything. And that is, excuse me, that is the cataclysmic event, at the very least, a major part of it that we are going to have experience in the very, very near future. So preparation for that is made by making sure that we maintain uh, um, the focus on who we are and our purpose for being here. The death of people will definitely affect us emotionally, but we cannot allow our emotions to overrule our purpose. And what I mean by that is that we cannot allow our emotions to overrule our purpose, and we lose sight of why we are here. Because even though it is gruesome, the gruesomeness of it is because of the human experiences of it, and it takes that most of the time for humanity to begin to come to grips with the need for change, especially those who are in the African Christian Church. See a need for change and understand that the need for change is not coming from the places where they are, and the questions they have are not being answered. And the major question that they have is, where is God? And and when they begin to see that the God that they have been worshiping is not a reality, and these cataclysmic events began to take place, and their lives being extracted from these bodies, and their tears and their prayers are not bringing it to an end. It's not changing it. It is not easing the pain of, that they are carrying as a result of the extrication of these bodies, of these spirits from the bodies. That's when they begin to cry out. And that's when the macro becomes more and more important to them, because the energy in the macro will begin to guide them towards those who can give them answers, but at the same time will bring answers to them in a way that they can embrace them. So the energy forces that Barbara spoke about yesterday, the triple super moons that she talked about, the triple moons is speaking to the divinity of the mass of femininity that is overshadowing the earth. That the energy of femininity that is birthing a new age, a brighter future in this earth. That the femininity that is the glue that holds everything together. Even though it appears that everything is falling apart, it is this divine, the divine essence of femininity in the months to come is not only the glue that's holding it together, but it is also the womb that is birthing what is necessary in order for balance to be brought into the earth. And that is the reason the numbers that Barb talked about yesterday, all of them are the same, because as she stated, it is unusual for these triple moons to happen back to back, back to back, and that is speaking volumes. What it's actually saying is that there's not separateness in it at all. This is all one. It is one common thread that ties all of it together. And the thread that is dismantling this system is the thread that we are pulling from Christianity, which means that Christianity is like a sweater that has been knitted. And we saw the string and began to pull on that string. And as our journey moves forward, the unraveling of Christianity becomes more visible, and it happens more rapidly. And we are at a state now where the last portions of this sweater or this blanket that was knitted is beginning to separate itself, and the end of this system that is undergirded by Christianity comes to an end when all of the energy of the African is extracted from this religion of bondage. And it is at that moment that we are not only will be more cognizant of what's going on, but we will be stronger in our resolve to continue this journey. And tears will flow, but our focus will not change. Our focus will remain the same, even though hearts will be broken. I'm done. Thank you.
That also speaks to what everybody's feeling about the weightiness and the heaviness and the tiredness, because it's like a woman giving birth. You know, that process doesn't just happen usually immediately. There is labor pain, and then between each pain, there is this tiredness until the next one comes. And so it's not unusual for masculine energy as well as feminine energy and the spiritual to feel that kind of tiredness either.
Thank you.
And I guess my ultimate thing is what you said, something is being birthed. That's why. And so that's what we need to keep in mind. And like a woman, after the birth, you don't remember the pain as vividly. You knew the tiredness and the heaviness and the weightiness because of what's birthed. So that's what we need to focus on. Whatever the universe is birthing, is our desire.
And to add to that, Barbara, please don't think that at any moment that Christianity births anything. It doesn't. The energy that has been keeping it alive is the energy of the African. And now that that energy has been extracted from the Christianity, there is no power there at all. There's nothing to keep it alive. And when we talked about it, when Barbara mentioned earlier, there's nothing to go back to because it's all an illusion, and you can't go back to an illusion. Christianity itself is an illusion. And as a result, everything that comes out of it is an illusion. The things that appear to be something that is birthed is not birthed at all. It is simply a repeating what the Neanderthal mind has conjured up and taught you and force you to learn and force you to embrace as being something spiritual when it is not anything spiritual at all. It is simply a repetition of what you've been told, not a vision of what actually exists in reality. Audrey, you have your hand up?
Yes. I've been thinking about what you said about the energy from African Americans upholding white nationalism. And I was kind of blown away, but I went back to, was thinking about it, and I thought, well, maybe that's true, because I went back to look at the Azusa Street revival. And the reason I did was because, and this is a bit of a historical context, but I didn't know that so many Pentecostal churches came out of the Azusa Street revival, like the Assemblies of God,
Yeah.
Church of Christ,
Yep.
Church of God, all the holy Pentecostal holiness, all of that came out of there.
Charismatic movement.
But the thing is, from 1906 to 1908, people were pouring into Los Angeles from all around the US to hear this guy, Seymour, speak or to just experience it. And he had come from Kansas under a white pastor called Parnham, who was from England or somewhere. But anyway, for 2 years, he preached, and there were blacks, whites, Asians, and whoever else was in Los Angeles. They were coming to the meetings, and there were like thousands of people. And then after 1908, this guy Parnham came in and got up, and they invited him to preach. And he got up and said he was disappointed that all these white people were worshiping together with these black people. And then, so that was the gist of his sermon. And so he left, convincing the white people that they shouldn't be taking part. So he left with a few hundred people, presumably whites. And then there was this other white woman who was part of the helping them in terms of logistics and all of that, and taking charge of all these people who were writing letters to them, and from all over the world, really, because the whole United States was hearing about what was happening in Los Angeles, and because Parnham was from England, then the English were hearing about it, and then all over the world. They sent out from there missionaries to China, to India, to the Philippines. So basically that energy was influencing the whole world. But this Caucasian woman who was working with them and doing the logistics and taking care of all their not their members, but people who were sending and wanting their newsletter. Well, when Seymour married this other woman, black woman, this lady left the church and she took the list of 50,000 people who had been requesting his newsletter, but also sending in donations, because he wasn't taking any collections or anything. He just let it be like a love offering kind of thing. But these 50,000 people who had been donating, getting his newsletter and donating, this woman took the list and moved to Portland. And then so she had connection with all of these 50,000 people, and she refused to give it back to Seymour. So eventually the newsletter became hers because she had the list of all the people who were receiving it. So it's that all that energy of steal, kill, and destroy. But anyway, all of these denominations, even the charismatics and the evangelicals, came out of Azusa Street, and they took that energy of this righteous man who was only interested in people coming to know God. They took that energy and ran with it to make money, to characterize it in any way they wanted, like the Parnham guy who said blacks and whites shouldn't be worshiping together, that kind of thing. So yes, the underpinnings of all of that, that brand of Christianity is the Black church. So I can see it clearly now. And I'm glad you brought that up, because otherwise I wouldn't have done the background reading. But I can see clearly that and then in the last 40 years or so, the Black church has sort of I don't know the word I'm looking for, but the Black church has come around to being part of the culprit in terms of because they now seem to do everything so that they can be taken seriously by the Christians, and they've adopted all the things that the evangelical Christians do and think and say, so that they can be accepted as Christians. So I think you're right. We have to reappropriate that energy, because it does underpin everything.
Thank you. That's why Carlton Pearson had to be extricated from the charismatic ministry. The power of his energy was giving life to something that was not supposed to live. Are any other questions or comments? Thank you, Audrey.
This is for Mel. Audrey, that was interesting to hear. What was the Isuzu experience? What was that?
Azusa Street Revival.
Yes.
It was a Black pastor who went from Kansas to Los Angeles. He was invited there to just speak in a church there. And the result of his preaching and teaching was that a lot of people, it turned into a revival, and it was supposed to last. He was supposed to be there for a month. He ended up staying there for, the revival went on for almost 8 or 9 years. So just the phenomenon of it lasting that long, it influenced a lot of people, Blacks, whites, Asians, and any other people that were there in Los Angeles at the time, Chinese.
Was he born out of, was he raised up in Christianity too?
I'm not sure of his
He was.
He was? Okay.
his biography, but he came from Kansas. He was under a pastor there.
Mm-hmm.
And Parnham was one of these Parnham is the guy he was under in Kansas. Parnham was one of these guys who in the early 1900s, there was a religious revival in the United States. And it was kind of led by preachers from England. And Parnham was one of those who was sort of traveling around and preaching. So he was associated with Parnham. And a woman from Los Angeles heard him speak, and then heard Seymour speak, and invited him to Los Angeles to speak.
Okay.
And that was the beginnings of the revival.
I think it was in the storefront church, wasn't it, Audrey, where it started?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what birthed our Black churches for the most part?
That's what birthed the charismatic evangelical movement,
Okay.
the apostolic churches,
All right. Thank you.
the holiness churches.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Audrey, it lasted, as you said, for something like 8 years. However, even after the white lady left, um, it continued. It wasn't as large as it was in the beginning, and for those 8 years, I remember reading that that's where Smokey Robinson found himself when he was um, an addict. He stumbled into that same storefront church,
Mm.
and that's where he walked away from all those things that could have been the death of him. So the energy was still there, even though the magnitude of it had shrunk because of what the white lady did.
Yeah, but a lot of pastors came out of that setting too,
Yes.
who moved to other places in the United States. Oral Roberts came out of that.
Yes.
Um,
That's where the rapture started.
I don't know, maybe Billy Graham was influenced. I don't know. I don't know
Um,
exactly, but
excuse me.
and then a lot of those, they sent missionaries all over the world.
Billy Graham started when he started in North Carolina. He was mimicking what happened in California, and what got him started was Meridian Hill Baptist Church in Washington D.C. He had gone to Washington to do a crusade, as he called them, and he was not getting any turnout whatsoever. So he went to Meridian Hill Baptist Church, and this African preacher had a radio program, and he invited Billy Graham to be a part of his program. And during the course of their discussion that evening, he endorsed Billy Graham's crusade, and it filled the convention hall, wherever he had it. It was filled to capacity, and that's where Billy Graham got his recognition. That's where he actually was catapulted into the on the national stage.
Wow. So
And
his whole thing was underpinned by the black church too.
yes, absolutely. And the pastor at Meridian Hill, who did that, was the older guy. But when I was in DC, he and Reverend Hawkins were friends. That's how I knew about what happened with Billy Graham there. So it's what we are seeing is that the seed of this whole revival has been from the loins of African maleness, and the demise of it. Not the demise. I'm sorry. The tamping down of it came as a result of the womb of the Neanderthal mindset. With the woman having taken the list, that in itself actually tempered it down. But I do believe that is the foundation for what we are doing currently.
The other thing I didn't mention was that at the Azusa Street Revival, women were also preaching.
Yes.
And Seymour was very much in favor of women preaching if they had a word from God, that thing. But again, this Parham guy was speaking against that, speaking against women preaching and all that.
That was during the time of Moody too, and Spurgeon out of England. That was during Spurgeon and in the period of Moody in this country doing evangelical ministry out of England. And they were the foundation for white nationalism, actually. And there are some accounts that you gave I had not been aware of, and I'm very, very grateful for the research that you were guided to do. And maybe Miss Florence who guided you to do that research. that she was a Spurgeon.
Good discussion. Anyone else thoughts or questions what we just talked about?
Hi, everyone. It's Denise. I called in a bit late today, but I was reflecting yesterday after Pastor spoke about the church crumbling, and I was thinking about like the energy and spirituality of Black people, and wondering if this removal of energy, this reclaiming of energy out of the Black church isn't sort of casting off some of the vestiges of slavery. And I kept thinking that it was more than just our minds or our bodies that was enslaved, like our spirituality, and I don't even know if we knew it, was enslaved too. And that power misappropriated, if you will. That's all. Thank you.
I do see what you're saying, Janice. And, and the enslavers did not enslave our spirituality. We did it. And the enslavement of our spirituality did not take place during the early stages of enslavement. Our spirituality was enslaved by us when we became ashamed of who we are, and we bought into the lies that were told to us about our spirituality being demonic, about voodoo being demonic, about ancestry acknowledgement was demonic. That is when we actually enslaved our own spirituality. And unlike racism, they are the ones who brought racism into existence. So it's up to them to deal with it, not us. It's not our problem. However, the enslavement of our spirituality was our issue, was our problem. And that is the reason that we had to unshackle it. And what I mean by that is we unshackled it by virtue of raising questions about Christianity that we never got answers to. And even the responses to it did not make sense. So the more we traveled this journey and begun to unshackle ourselves from Christianity, that is when our spirituality was made free to exist the way it was supposed to from the beginning. Europeans do not have the power to did not have the power to enslave our spirituality. No one could do that except us. And now that we are where we are, we have removed those shackles. And what comes to mind right now at this very moment, sitting there at this hotel in this ballroom when we first met, and Janice being the one recording, and when we were talking about adultery, and with Janice having said that adultery is only applicable to the woman, and our response to that was that's not even right. That doesn't make sense. That's not even supposed to be written there. That was the key that was inserted into the lock that we had used to enslave our spirituality. And when that key was turned, that's when the shock has begun to fall away. I hope all of that makes sense to you. And the freedom.
It does.
Thank you. The express freedom of femininity from an attempt of African masculinity to enslave it based upon what had been infused in Black masculinity by the Neanderthal mindset. Um, the unshackling it was or recognition of it being unshackled rather was when we were in Philadelphia, and this guy said, and I know George remembers Bernard, that's what his name was, said that uh, um, femininity was dark in a very negative way, and I was not permitted to respond to that by Miss Barbara, and she and herself when she responded to it. I see now the reason that I could not respond to it because femininity had to free itself from this attitude of the ignorance of masculinity in relationship to femininity. So those are key points I do see looking at it retrospectively that has brought us along this journey in a real way. So I hope that response, Janice,
Yeah,
helps.
it does. That frames it like that makes really good sense. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pastor.
No, I was going to ask Barbara, I wanted to look at October 6th, November 5th, December 4th. That's all.
Yeah.
Barbara?
Oh, just the dates. The dates all equal 16 or 1 plus 6, whether it's October, November, or December. That the supermoons will be seen, and that all equals 1 plus 6, which is 7, which is completeness. But you already said it, Pastor. It talks about the access to feminine energy in a sense, because the moon is representative of feminine energy, the availability of it. And so it's an opportunity to right a lot of wrongs, if you will, is another way to say that spiritually. Access that energy and to repurpose it for the good of humanity. So our meditation should include that desire that all of this energy infusing worldwide for the use of and the good of humankind. Thanks.
Thank you.
Pastor Grand Rising family, I have a question based on what Barbara just said with that number 6. There was a time when the number 6, the 666 and all of those things, and it being the number of man, based on what Barbara just said about how this number is to be viewed and how this energy can be used. I guess my question becomes, I think the last time we looked at the number 6 and 666 itself, we took the negative energy away from that and said that was nothing bad, that that was one of those things that we had been told that was something horrible and something was, but it's just mankind. So is that, based on what Barbara just said, the opportunity for humanity to possibly get things right?
It is.
Pastor, let me just say something. Pastor, if I could just,
So go ahead.
I meant that 10 plus 6 plus 20, 25, all that is 16 or 1 plus 6, which equals 7. So all of that is 1 plus 6. And also all of it is 777.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
And Barbara Jean, in addition to that, the 666, 3 times 6 is 18, that's 9, right? If we count the year from the real year, from March being the first month of the year, then what we end up with October, November, December, when you add those numbers, 8, 9, and 10, you get 27, which is also 9. So all of this is speaking to exactly the same thing, regardless of whether we look at the what is it, the Georgian calendar we use now, as opposed to the African calendar, the first calendar that was brought into existence. And I want to ask someone. Go ahead, Barbara.
Was it the Gregorian?
Gregorian calendar.
Gregorian.
That's it, Gregorian. Thank you. George, number 9. Would you speak to that for a second, please?
Yes, the spiritual meaning of number 9 is the number of cosmic consciousness. You know what I mean? It's a spiritual doorway to awakening the higher self and the alignment of all that is, was, and ever will be. The number 9 is a higher awareness of self and purpose. But divine purpose reveals itself to you as you go through this doorway. But you have wanted to know your individual unique purpose and are ready in your mind, body, and spirit to embrace and follow your higher calling, and to be and to teach the ways of the path of enlightenment. So, talk.
So, George, I'm going to ask you a question.
Mhm.
So, from that, if we just look at one aspect of it, which is self-awareness, awareness of who we are, then that awareness itself is what is part of what 666 means. 3 times 6 is 18, 81 is 9. So this brings us to a state of being of self-awareness, being aware that we are not mere men. We are gods.
Yes, and it talks also, Pastor, too, about the importance of what you say, to know thyself and to be aware, in terms of a cycle. The number 9 also represents a cycle, and a cycle is being opening up a doorway where we can be able to see it now in terms of enlightenment and also in terms of inspiration. And when we talk about balance, we talk about how the feminine and masculine feminine and masculine energy, in terms of equality, it talks about balance. And so again, the cosmic consciousness, and we've spoken about the Akashic consciousness. So I think that is all relevant in terms of us seeing it, not only seeing it spiritually, but also seeing in terms of a science, because we talked about the 666. So I think that those are some thoughts I just wanted to share. I'm done.
Thank you, George. Whether we look at the Gregorian calendar, if we look at the 3 months in question here, October, November, December, we end up with 33. If we add those numbers, the 10th month, the 11th and 12th month, we end up with 33, which is 6. And anything that is triple digits is said that it is, quote unquote, set in concrete, meaning that it's unchangeable. So Catherine talks about, raises the question rather, about 666. It also speaks to it, regardless of whether we're looking at the Gregorian calendar or the original one, the message is the same. This is a cycle where we become aware of who we are. And during this cyclical period, it is a prime opportunity for us to bring balance to humanity. So having said that, where we are now, the reason we are beginning to see the nuances of what the essence of spirituality is, and understanding that we were the ones who actually enslaved our spiritual essence. And now that it is free, we are free to the extent that we are able to make decisions about how we proceed from this point. What do I mean by that? There are things that we see are written in the sacred book, and we have the authority to determine how they are going to affect mankind. And that authority comes from one word, dominate. When that word was spoken, that in itself gave us the inherent authority to do that. Now, inherent authority does not mean that we make every single individual decision and we know how things are going to shake out. Inherent authority also means that we have the authority to say to the universe, we have no sense of direction in terms of how to bring humanity from this place of bondage, so that all of humanity can be not only free but can also have an awareness of who it is and its existence. We have the authority to seek that guidance from the universe, and so now that's what we are doing. We're not trying to determine what things are going to look like. Neither are we making any efforts to determine what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, or the next week. That authority that we have grants us that privilege to defer to the Cosmic Mother for the birthing of those things that are necessary. And that's where we are now. The discussion that we've had so far this morning, and especially when we begun to talk about these cosmic numbers, all of this is coming from the Akashic consciousness and allowing us to see the uniformity between those who once only saw themselves as human, who now see themselves as Elohim. The uniformity between that embracement of being Elohim and the Cosmic Mother itself. So that uniformity means that we are moving on the same plane. We are moving in lockstep with the universe itself, and we are not overstepping any boundaries. We are only setting boundaries so that those who seek to continue to be destructive cannot cross those boundaries and continue to be destructive. It takes power to be destructive, and power is energy. And without energy, there is no power. There's only lip service. So now what we're beginning to see is the lip service being paid to power. And even with the deaths that are coming, that does not mean you have power. It means that you are seeking power that you thought you had, and you are trying to embrace that power. You're trying to project that power through fear, through instilling fear in people because of what you are doing that we are able to see with our eyes, as opposed to seeing with our eye, knowing that these things that are designed to evoke fear is a further means of self-destruction by those who has sought to keep the earth consciousness in bondage to itself. So right now, we not only we being in lockstep with the Cosmic Mother means that we see more clearly that we are indeed the universe and the universe is us, even though we may not be able to explain it in a way that is understandable to everyone. That's not as important as whether or not it resonates, and the resonance of it is the only thing that is necessary for us to become one with it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, it does. It does.
It
Okay.
does.
The resonance of it instead of resonance, the resonance of it.
I hope this brings a little value to the discussion. I was looking up October, November, and December, and I was trying to find any type of connection with African names. And what it says is because there's so many languages and dialects in Africa. There is no one name for those months. Uh, but most of their months of those months have something to do with the season, what's going on in the season, uh, and or what the culture is. So I just thought it was just kind of interesting that those months, those lunar events follow each other like that, and see if there was anything further we could glean from it.
I think so.
Yeah.
To everything, there's a season. There's a season for planting. There's a season for gathering. That is a material understanding of the seasons, the agrarian seasons. But there's a spiritual aspect of there being a season for everything as well. I believe that no, I know that the research that Audrey did, that she shared with us a little while ago, showed us that the season for where we are now, the seeds were sown during the Azusa Street revival, and the as the scripture says, the enemy, for lack of a better word, came and planted tare in the midst of the wheat, and that is indicative of what the Caucasian female did when she took the list and became the sole owner of the newsletter. In other words, she took the message away from Azusa Street, from Seymour, and she became the messenger and the message itself. And that is the tare that was set in the midst of the wheat. And we are not, as humans, permitted to separate the wheat from the tare. Why? Because humans will disrupt both the wheat and the tare, the weeds as well as the product itself, the intended product itself. So we had to become aware of who we are, the deliverers of humanity. And now there is one who has come who is able to separate the wheat from the tare. And that's what's happening right now. As we look at the tare that was sown in the sacred book that we call the Bible, that tare is evangelical Christianity. That tare is white nationalism. That tare is anything that dehumanizes the African and sets itself up as a god. And now that we are aware of ourselves, now that we are in tune with not only the lunar numbers, but also being in lockstep with the universe itself, we are able to separate the wheat from the tare, because we are no longer functioning as mere men. We are functioning as God. We are functioning as Elohim. We're functioning as the spiritual beings that we were created to be. And thus we are able to separate the wheat from the tare without damaging the wheat itself. And the tare will be put in bundles and burned, meaning that the tare will no longer exist, especially in the form that it exists now. And that form is one of enslavement, confusion, and destruction. Does that make sense, Ron?
Yes, sir. It does.
So
Thank you.
that's how I see the seasons.
Yes.
Well, as you spoke, what it just painted a picture for me about wheat and tares. So thank you very much. I mean, but not only for us, there are so many others who are able to see the difference between the wheat and the tare, who are that's why they're walking away from Christianity. When they
Yes.
say a Christian would not do that. A Christian cannot say they love their God and hate this person, or allow this child to starve, or I mean, it's so vivid that it's being seen by eyes are being opened is what I'm saying.
Yes. the tear looks like the wheat. That's why you cannot separate it without having an understanding of who you are, without having that divine eye to see the difference between the two. And that is even seen in the past election. The white women are the tear. They are the tear in that with all of these white women talking about the power of femininity and the desire to have a female in that position where a male is currently, and then to turn to do what they did and has always done, and that is to sow tear in the midst of the wheat, so that the desired outcome is not what we desire it to be. And all of that happened because credence was paid to a group of people who never had any intentions of doing the right thing because they never knew what it was, and that is that Caucasian femininity has never known what truth is. Has always been a slave to masculinity and enjoys its position of being enslaved to masculinity. And that is the reason that we see represented in that is the how docile, how submissive, how that Caucasian femininity seems to relish being in a position of servitude and being a disruptor for everything that could be progressive for them as well as for humanity, which means that the mindset of the Neanderthal is not just relative to masculinity; it is also relative to femininity in that Caucasian or that European female, and because that female has submitted itself to this Neanderthal mindset that it also possesses, and it cannot be authentic in any way whatsoever, even though it speaks words that would make you believe that those words are authentic. But when the rubber meets the road, what actually happens is that Neanderthal mindset begins to become dominant again, meaning that some people have been lulled into a sleep, as some of us were, because we felt that that Kamala would have won this race, been lulled into a sleep. Even the very elect, will be deceived, and that deception was experienced, and that deception does not come from white men, because we know who they are. That deception comes from white women who pretend to be something that they are not. So I see not only the sowing of the terror in the midst of the wheat, I also see white femininity, the Caucasian femininity, the Neanderthal femininity as being terror itself. I'm done. Or maybe I should ask, is that clear? Can you see that?
It's clear.
Now keep in
I have a question.
let me say this first, please. We are not talking about individual people. We're talking about collective consciousness. And the
Okay.
collective consciousness of the Neanderthal is what we are talking about.
See that.
Okay. Was that you, Evelyn? Who had a question?
Good afternoon, family. To the ancestors. Pastor Jay, so what is the wheat? Did I miss it?
What is the
Because you
what?
said a lot. You were
The
talking
wheat.
about the wheat and the tares. So what is
Yeah.
the wheat? Oh,
Righteousness. The wheat is righteousness. It is okay, but it is the mindset of a Kabbalah. That's the wheat. The tear is the mindset of the Neanderthal. It is the collective consciousness of the Neanderthal. See, the battleground is the consciousness of this earth, this celestial ball that we call Earth. Well, without really realizing there is a spiritual Earth as well. Even though this physical thing, this celestial ball, this physical in its appearance to our eyes, there is a highly spiritual component to it. And that in itself is the battleground. And this Neanderthal consciousness has sought to be the manipulator and controller of Earth consciousness. And in doing so, has caused us to see Earth consciousness as being something that is not desirable for humanity to move forward in a divine manner. When in essence, it is also an illusion. This idea of this Neanderthal consciousness overpowering Earth consciousness is also an illusion. And Earth consciousness is simply a fertile land, a fertile consciousness that is available for planting, meaning that the fertility of this Earth consciousness has is neutral in its essence. And the thing that removes it from being neutral is the African. And the African our souls in the midst of Earth consciousness, righteousness, and humanity comes to a place of balance. And they study war no more. And that is when the tools of war shall be beaten into plowshares, meaning that the tools of war will no longer be tools of war. They will become tools that are valuable and beneficial to humanity. So Earth consciousness, the neutrality of it, has been dominated by the consciousness of the Neanderthal, but no longer can that be, because if you can see the Earth consciousness as a neutral, not only neutral ground, but nutritional ground as well. The thing that has allowed this false sense of control to be dominant is because we have given life to it by fearing it, as well as by trying to be as it is, trying to fit into a system that was never designed for us to fit in because it's not real. It is illusionary. And that which is real can never fit into an illusion, because when you are real, it doesn't take long for you to see that something is wrong with this picture. And the wrongness with the picture is that we have been trying to fit into an illusion, and we cannot fit there. So the fertility of the Earth consciousness has always remained the same, and the neutrality of it is also the same until now. And now that neutrality is no longer there. Why do I call it neutrality? Because the Creator brought into existence this Earth consciousness, but also the Creator allowed for an existence of the Neanderthal mindset, as well as the mindset of Akabelan, which is the African mindset. And it takes this Neanderthal mindset alongside this African mindset for the African in this physical form to come to a realization that it is Elohim having a physical experience. And that physical experience cannot be realized fully until that Neanderthal mindset no longer has any hold on Earth consciousness at all. That it has never been a true seed. It has always been a disruptor. It has always been the tear. It has always been something that is to choke out righteousness, to choke the truth out. And now that the children of the sun have become aware of who they are, this sense of divinity that has been embraced by the children of Akabelan has been sown, had recognized rather the fertility of the soul of Earth consciousness. And when we talk about putting things in the macro, what we are actually doing is sowing the seeds of righteousness into Earth consciousness. And now we are reaping a harvest. Excuse me. And you say, how can we be reaping a harvest? with what's going on behind us, where those things that in front of us, rather, those things that we see in the environment that are chaotic, that's the terror being separated from the wheat. And the wheat will always stand. And the reason that the African is not in the street is because there is no need for there to be a physical fight against an illusionary enemy. It's like trying to box with the air. It does not. It does not. It is not progressive, and it does not provide anything of substance to be trying to box with the air. This idea of terror is an illusionary type of destruction that we have the ability to remove from the mindset of humanity. And that's what we're in the process of doing. And the manifestation of it comes when we recognize the balance in the earth. We will never recognize the balance in the earth till we recognize the balance in ourselves. This sense of self-awareness is one thing, but that being aware of self is not the totality of the journey that we're on. Being aware of self is a part of the journey. Once you become aware of self, the question becomes, so what do you do with this knowledge of self? When you realize who you are, you also realize that you're not only the seed, but you're the womb as well. And you are able to use the fertility of the soil, this earth consciousness, to birth a type of righteousness that the earth has never experienced since the beginning. And here we are now with the seeds of Kemet, the seeds of the Kushite being implanted in the consciousness of the earth, this fertile consciousness. And now, as the seed takes root, as righteousness takes root, it begins to expose the terror, to push it out from the place where it was. And now it is time for it to be tied in bundles and ignited with fire, which means that all of that illusionary consciousness will be burned, and only that which is real will continue to exist and be followed by those who are seeking peace and harmony. I'm done.
Ashe.
Ashe.
At the onset, I asked you guys to hold off your questions so we could make sure we were finished with yesterday's discussion. So does anybody have anything pressing, any question that you were hoping to get answered today, or at least introduced to us? Just didn't want to leave anybody out.
Hi, this is Evelyn.
Hey, Evelyn.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. After Pastor gave out the proclamations and the declarations on yesterday, I was just talking to Ramel about it after we got off the broadcast about how I felt the weight uplifted off of me, that energy that we brought to the family, you know, telling them how we felt, the fatigue energy. We both said that there was a different feeling. I can't speak for her, but when I was telling her about how I was feeling, I felt light. And I think Pastor may have done something. Yes, he did do something, because with the proclamations or the masons that he put out there, I felt lighter. My energy was totally different. It's like I felt transformed, renewed. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I say something to that? Is there anyone else who wants to speak first? I cannot say about you. That's a determination that you have to make by self-examination. When it comes to sleep lately, it has been something that either has escaped me or it has been something that I have been very much aware of while being awake at the same time spiritually. Right now, I don't my experiences are not, for lack of a better way to express it, are not as human as they once were. Just a few weeks ago, just a few days ago, for that matter, my experiences are more of a divine nature now than they have ever been. And when we talk about the divine essence of this energy that was called Jesus, when we talk about that divine essence of that energy, that is the energy that I'm experiencing. That is the energy that I recognize. Not only am I experiencing it, but that's the energy that I am. And by virtue of embracing this, it grants me the opportunity to not only see with a greater clarity, it also grants me the opportunity to see the seamless oneness, the seamless uniformity, the seamless unicity that exists between this energy form called James and the Akashic consciousness, this seamlessness that is one with the universe itself. And along with that has come a type of consciousness or awareness that is becoming more and more, I guess, solemn. What is it? I'm looking for a word. It's more of a peace. It has a sense of solemnity to it that does not allow for prolonged controversy or prolonged uh, um, what chaos. The experiences of the chaotic experiences that introduce themselves, I don't return the introduction to them. I transform them. So what I'm saying in essence is this: it is up to you to search you and ascertain the awareness that you are of self and what is happening with that. The solemnity that I'm experiencing grants me the privilege to be responsive, not only to the questions that are raised, but also to be responsive to those experiences that I am encountering based upon the climate that we currently live in. So I am saying to you, I suppose, that you do soul searching. You look at yourself, look in your own mirror, and see where you are. If there is not a continuous sense of solemnity with you, ask yourself why. Not if it's possible, but why. Because not only is it possible, it's waiting for you to embrace. And with that solemnity also comes a deeper sense of divinity. And that deeper sense of divinity is inexplicable, but it is something that you know that you are experiencing, no differently than you know when your head aches or when your foot hurts or whatever. You know that even if no one else knows it or believes it. That is the type of solemnity that I'm speaking of and with this divine experience that has become more and more evident in my life. Now, it has not become more real. It's always been real. But being evident to me, the evidence of my experiences helps me to see the depth of my embracement of the divine nature that I was created with and placed in this physical body for the express purpose of bringing deliverance to humanity and a deep sense of awareness, in particular to the children of Akabalon, so that our divinity can prevail in this earth. And again, you do the search for yourself. You look in your mirror, and you are the determining factor as to your experiences. I am not the determining factor of your experiences. All I could do is share with you not only my experiences, but the information, the understanding, the insight that I'm constantly receiving from the Akashic consciousness. And with that, I say thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you. Is this a good place for us to pause for the evening, for the morning? Any other thoughts or questions? Okay.
We meeting with California today?
Thank you. Yes. Yes, well, thank you,
Yes,
Audrey.
ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Well, have a great day, everybody, and look forward to tomorrow evening.
All right.
All right,
Thank
take
you,
Have a good
everyone.
day. Bye. Thank you.